as a business, I'm trying to stay relevant with AI coming in, and it is so much deeper than even I'm a small company, but even big companies, and I'm not talking about Facebook. So now there's AI that tracks your mood. So depending on what you're putting on your social media, they can tell if you're sad. They will send you an ad because you're sad to impulse buy something. It'll be a specific thing to being depressed.
Man.
That's how deep it's getting.
Yeah.
Like, so they know, the algorithm knows, oh, they're typing something sad and what something happened or happy, whatever. They're going to try to send you something. I forgot what the example was, but
yeah, we're like, hey, do you need antidepressants?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Boom. That's what you're going to get.
Like, I get a lot of these things. It's like, hey, Justin, you're kind of old, and we couldn't help but notice you don't have nearly the amount of hair you did in your early photos. Right. Maybe you want to take something for that.
But if you're talking next to your phone.
Half of my Facebook is telling me how bald I am.
But if you're talking next to your phone, it's going to pop up on your social media.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. They're lying to us. It's 100%. Absolutely listening 100%. To us. There's no
it's been listening to us for years.
And everyone knows it, but it's like a little too edgy of a conspiracy to like really like wrap your head around, like, well, surely they wouldn't do that. We all know that they are. Welcome to Above the Legal Limit. I'm your host, Justin Chopin, business owner, lawyer, dad, world's best husband, traveler, and adventure seeker. On this podcast, we mix business with pleasure. We'll dive into growth strategies, entrepreneurial adventures, the business of law, and prove that business isn't boring. So let's get ready, because we are going above the legal limit. Hey, welcome to Above the Legal Limit. We have a real guest today. So sometimes we don't have real guests. We have I just go find somebody and say, hey, I need a guest. Get your ass over here. But today we have a real guest today, Kevin White. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Sure. Hey, thanks for having me.
Kevin is so you are the owner operator. That's what we say. Owner operator sounds different. Of Mach 10. Mm-hmm. Tell me about Mach 10.
So Mach 10 Media came out of, it was a production company years ago. And what would happen is I would make beautiful videos for people. And then when I would go back and say, hey, what other videos do you want to make? They would say none, because no one saw that one. Oh, so I moved into the marketing aspect of it so I could keep making, commercials and, content creating for people.
Sure.
And so that's kind of how I navigated through the market. But I've worked for agencies before, so I do media buys and all that kind of stuff too.
Okay. Who's your ideal customer?
My ideal customer, you mean like type of job, type of work, or personality?
We have commercials, right? And so maybe if you're like the one or two people who've actually seen it, we have commercials, and we do a lot on social media that we work with LeDuc Entertainment with. But a lot of times people are really niching down in the marketing business to say, well, predominantly we work with law firms, or we work with car dealerships. Seems like there are only two people left advertising.
Roofers. I have a roofer.
Roofer,
okay. Plumber.
Okay.
So I got a roofer, a plumber, an injury attorney. I have a contractor.
Okay.
I just had a flooring company pull out, so I had a flooring company for a few years. I think everybody needs marketing. And I should be inundated more than I am. That's what my clients say. How do you not have more clients? Right. But just getting people to understand the process. A lot of times content creation can be overwhelming for a business owner. And so what I do is I try to come in and I've written movies and produced movies, and I've been a director of photography too. But I was a production company first, so that's kind of the first thing. Gotcha. So, I try to take all of that off their plate. But what happens is you get companies that they're not organized. So I used to have a term I would use is you've got to organize, strategize, then attack. You can't just start marketing.
No,
because it's not going to work.
A lot of small businesses do that. To be clear, I've absolutely done that. Mm-hmm. I've absolutely gone out and bought a billboard. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, what the hell are we going to put on this billboard? Right. And the first round of billboards we had were stupid. It was like me, and I was like, we got your back. They were horrible. I don't know. We were just trying to figure some things out. Mm-hmm. But the successful marketers, you're right. I mean, they go in with a plan. They have a strategy. They know who their audience is.
Sure, your logo is the same from your business card to your vehicle to your shirts to your caps, like just that store. Or they don't even have a vectored art of their logo.
Yeah, right. Or coordinating colors, right? So everyone, your colors are the same. All of those sorts of things, and we don't. Well, we spend a lot of time strategizing. We don't organize nearly. We're much better now than we used to be, but a lot of what we do is just trial and error. So I get that. I mean, and as a small business owner, it's like marketing. It's like the most important and what you have the least amount of time for, right? Because I've got to hire people, I've got to fire people, I've got other markets I want to get into, and so the last thing I want to do, sorry, don't be offended, but the last thing I want to do is to come here and sit down and talk about marketing and business and things like that, because everybody wants a piece of me, But and then you get, as the consumer, I'm like the consumer of marketing agents. So not the individual consumer. I'm like the medium consumer. I'm sure marketing people have a term for that. I get inundated all day with people trying to sell me stuff. Yeah. So everyone's always like, I got it. You ready? I got it. I was like, all right, let's hear it. And he's like, chopping the red tape. I'm like, okay, that is a strategy that you can do. Right. They're like, I think it's huge. I was like, well, I think.
Well, that's a sales tactic.
I think it sucks.
Yeah, come up with an idea and then call and say, hey, I've got a great idea for your business. Right. That's a sales tactic. The Tada Law Firm, they're very much they're just really good people. Eric and his son Rick, and they do seriously want to help people. They really feel like they want to help people, but they don't. They tend to stay in their lane. Sure. They're not going to do anything outlandish. I came up with an idea for Halloween, and that was Eric to dress up as a magician, and then you've got a hat where he's got the you got the canes, he's got the top hat on, and he does the wand over the hat, and the check comes out, and he goes, "Ta-da!"
Yeah. I was going to say, like, I would.
Right. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. No. They're great guys.
I'm a pretty conservative guy, but I think if my last name was Tada, I don't know that I could. That's just too on the nose.
It's too on the nose, but they don't do anything on the nose. Our slogan is, you got to call Tada. Try rhyming Tada with something. You know what I mean? Like, it's a tough one, but they do a really good job. And I love having them.
Now I'm trying to rhyme. So you're right. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna. Right. My brain is already gone. I'm like not even here. I'm like right. Nope, doesn't work. Right. No, I agree with you. That's well, look, we have a very similar approach. Our whole shtick, in marketing is we're not flashy marketers, right? And so people are always trying to get me to do like really crazy, outlandish ideas, and their thought process is, well, that's what'll get people to remember you. And I get it. But I also have to be sort of authentic to myself and my team of lawyers here who also they don't love that. We're all like pretty conservative, kind of like uptight assholes. And so nobody wants to see me out there, dancing the gritty.
Yeah. They don't want to see you jumping in a pool with your suit on.
Right. Like I'm not. And more importantly, I'm not jumping.
That was a poke at somebody.
Did someone do that? Because I'm not jumping in a pool with my suit on.
Yeah, somebody did. I'm not saying their name.
All right, well, I'm going to Google it now. But, someone recently was like, do this. There's a trending reel where you roll over. And I was like, you want me to like lay on the ground and roll over? And they said, yes. And I was like, no, I'm not laying on the ground. Yeah. Absolutely not. Yeah. Think of something else. Yeah. Find another way to stand out, but that won't be it. So we talk about this a lot with my marketing companies about, because you got to strike a balance, I think, between getting people out of their comfort zone and then, but being kind of in line with your values and, or for lack of a better term, whatever you want to call it, being authentic. There's some guys, Lee Rudin's doing a lot of fun stuff right now, but that's him. That's his personality. He can do that. I can't. Like I can't do that, right? But you got to work with what you have. Well, it's good what he's doing.
Yeah, I have a roofing company that pretty much let me do anything, and we do all comedy. So we did. Remember the what's that? What's that?
Yeah, right.
We do roofs up, and so we put that on locally on the Super Bowl in 2018, and they blew up.
Oh, wow.
It's on their trucks now. Roofs Up's on their trucks now. So we do a series, and you should you should cut in a commercial, a Go Roof commercial in this thing, just so you can see what I'm talking about.
Like,
I mean, they're all funny, but they're not silly funny. They have a point to them.
Yeah.
So that's the line I draw, is that we'll do funny, but I'm not just going to do something where you're standing there acting crazy or whatever. It's got a point to it, and they're shot well. So you don't. Some people don't like them, but Go Roof says, if you don't like our commercial, we probably don't want you as a customer anyway. Right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, we had over Mardi Gras, we had a plane fly our banner over the parades, and everyone's like, "Did you get any calls?" I'm like, "No." What did you get? And I was like, "Oh, well, I got a 1-star review from someone who says I don't want to see your banner."
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
I was like,
Right.
oh, okay.
Right.
All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Now,
Go Roof just got a 1-star yesterday that said their commercial comes on too much.
There you go. I guess your marketing's working. We got Google to take it down, fortunately.
How do you do that? I can't even get them to do that.
So you got to report it
over and over and over.
Yeah,
again.
you got to report it to Google, and for something like that, I think I said it was like not topical, or it was like not related or something like that. I mean, we get every now and then, like I'll get like a 1-star, and you'll go through the whole thing. And you're like, okay, it is very clear that this was not a client.
Yeah,
we have no record of this person.
Right.
Right. No one knows who this person is. Now, those are tricky. Like Google is just like, I don't know what to tell you. Too bad. But on some of those, so we got, I don't want to see your banner. I'm like,
right.
Well, don't look up. I don't know what to tell you. Look,
That's right.
Keep eyes forward.
Avert your
forward,
eyes. That's all you got to do is avert your eyes.
Yeah.
Well, what I really excel at with my clients are two things. So it's good concepts for content, but also the media buys. So I do really good at beating up broadcasters and billboard companies. And so the amount of money they save just on that every month, really, because the way I work is different than other people. I work on a retainer every month. So what I do is they pay me a certain amount of money. I do everything.
Okay.
And through that, and I also get 15% of the media buy. So how it works is if you go straight to the broadcaster, right?
The price is bullshit.
Yeah, right. The sales guy. So one, you're gonna get screwed on the frequency buy,
right? But
you're also gonna give 20% of that to the salesperson. When as an agency come in there, they get 5% and we get 15%. So it's not a cost that's coming out of your pocket, and I'm making up the difference through my retainer. A lot of people charge a ton of money for a retainer. I don't do that. So once I get everything organized, once I get everything organized and the way it needs to be, it's really just maintaining the content and where we're going to go, where we're going to put stuff. So it becomes easier on me, and the retainer works great. So everybody knows what they're spending. They give me a budget every month or every 6 months. We'll talk about what the budget is. Then we talk about the concepts, and then I go write them. I set a date, and I go shoot it. And then I put it on there. And then marketing, honestly, I know you're a business owner, is how you feel about your business.
Sure.
If you feel like it's good, I can send you analytics all day. But TV broadcaster analytics, we can cuss on this?
Yeah. Yes,
so
please.
TV analytics are BS. It's all BS. Like the only thing you have accurate numbers for is social media. It'll tell you, hey, you got a 20-second call here, you got that.
Right.
Everything else is how do you feel about it? If you're taking analytics at the point of contact and they say, I heard you on the radio. Great.
I mean, that's very rare though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very rare. People typically will say, how did you find us? And they'll say, they don't know.
Right.
They'll say, sometimes they'll even lie. They'll be like, a friend told me about you.
So that's also,
who? I don't know. Don't worry about that.
So I'm
like, it's okay. You found me on Google. That's okay.
Yeah. I tell the point of contact, listen, you're going to have to ask 3 things. You're going to have to say, how'd you hear from us? Well, because everybody here wants a deal.
Right.
And so they feel like if they tell you, oh, I got it from my uncle or my sister was there, you're going to treat them. It's not just that. It's the treatment of it. Like, oh, I know. Yeah, I know.
We all do that.
Exactly.
Right.
Then you're going to do a better job for them because my cousin went there and you helped my cousin and whatever. That's it. So then they're going to always start off. That's why point of contact analytics are BS too, because the way that Southern people are, they're going to start off with, oh, my aunt was there and she told me about you and blah, 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 blah. Then you have to ask them again, well, have you seen any of our ads anywhere? And then they'll say, yeah. Where have you seen the ads? So you really have to ask 3 times.
Yeah, you really, okay, that makes sense.
To get an accurate analytic.
Yeah, I don't know that we do that. I think we'll just do the usual, like, how'd you find out about us? But, if you have billboards up and you're on TV and maybe you're on radio and you're on digital, I mean, that it's just sort of like maybe all 3 of them, and they don't even know. Maybe they saw your commercial and it didn't really make much of an impression.
It's staying on top of mind, really.
Right.
When they need you. Not everybody needs a roof or an injury attorney tomorrow. But if you're on top of mind when it happens, then you have a better chance of getting it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Or then they saw your name when they started researching it.
Sure.
And maybe subconsciously they were like, wait, I've heard of that. I've heard that company before. Because I think that's going to become a much bigger deal as we move forward into this new people are moving away from brick and mortar. And so, businesses are different now. And so, with the amount of content and consumer content, or I guess I should say with the amount of content the consumer is being bombarded with, coupled with moving away from brick and mortar businesses, that connection, I think, is just going to be even more important. To be like, hey, no, wait, this is a real company. Right, it's not a fly-by-night guy. It's not. I mean, when you start researching for roofers, for example, I mean, some of those guys aren't even from here, right? I mean, you just go online, start looking it up, and it could be anything. It could be an aggregate. It's just a buyer of search terms, and it's going to sell it off to roofing companies. And so trying to keep that local connection, I think is getting more and more important. Yeah,
it's also keeping the relationship with the clients you have, and then trying to stay in front of them without bugging them too much. You know what I mean? You have to balance that too, because they get upset if your process with them is done, and you're still saying, hey, you're still trying to get recommendations out of them. So that's a balance too. You don't want to do too much. You kind of want to do things something like, hey, thanks for doing business with us 3 months ago. Can I send you a koozie or a T-shirt? You kind of got to do something like that.
Yeah, really. No, that's good. We're working on that now. I don't think we're really fully there yet, but this is we've been building this for about a year now. Yeah, and we just got some new software that's going to allow us to do a proper drip campaign, an SMS campaign, where before we weren't really able to do it. And that's a lot of times the hardest part, is getting the mechanism in place to allow you to communicate with even your own customers or past customers. It's not that easy. When we just did a deep dive. We were like, okay, we have an email campaign now. I said, well, all past clients, you signed on to the Chopin law firm, and you are getting an email. Well, you know what sucks? In the early days of the business, we weren't ever thinking about making sure that we maintain client contact for a drip campaign. We just wanted to be lawyers. Right. We just wanted to be lawyers and do the best work and get paid and make our clients get paid. And so we had like 3,000 contacts that are gone. We have the name.
No email.
We got their name, but we don't have their email addresses because that wasn't important for us, because we don't, a lot of our clients, maybe email isn't necessarily the mode of communication that they choose. So my marketing person says, well, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, I sure as shit, I'm not going to have everybody sit down and call 3,000 people and say, hey, look, we represented you like 5, 6, 10 years ago. Can I have your email address?
Right.
Like, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So don't worry about it. Tomorrow's another day. We sign clients every day. This is a long-term project, not a short-term project. I can't worry about what we did in 2015. In 2015, I was a different person. This was a different business. The market was different in 2015. And so we're moving forward, but it sucks because those 3,000 contact cards, there's nothing I can do about it. But so when you buy in media, because there's a huge shift in the way we were talking about this before we went on the air. Like, I don't get to watch TV. I'm on TV, but I don't get to watch TV for a multitude of reasons. I have TV. Like, we have a TV. I'm not a big TV person. So to be fair, there's like one TV in my house, and I've always been that way. But I got 2 kids. My oldest is 9. My youngest is 7. They generally dictate what we watch. Right? It's like a lot of that. We're like, we're kind of moving out of Bluey into, I don't know, what I would call like a
boy or girl.
Both. I got one of each.
Sonic and
well, no. So my daughter's the oldest one, so she tells us what to watch. She's just moved into like I would call it like preteen soap operas. Like I don't even know why. I was like, what the hell? But it's been on for hours, but it's starting. It's on for so long. It starts to take that soap opera cadence in the background. My wife and I was like, I feel like Days of Our Lives are on or something, and you know, so they tell us what we're allowed to watch, and rarely is it the news. And then I'm tired. Like by the time I've got them in bed, like I'm out.
Right.
We used to try to stay up and binge watch. And then we'd wake up on the sofa at like 1 a.m, like, son of a bitch, you did it again. You know, so we try not to do that anymore. But so, which is my ridiculous lead up to asking the question of, with a shifting market, because I might be a lunatic, but surely people are just like me. How do we get in front of them when we talk about media? Like, what are we buying? Are we buying the news? Are we buying daytime? Are we doing OTT? Like, what do you think? Like, where's the market going?
So it depends on what your demographic is, of course.
Sure.
Right. So, you know, with a roofing company, you want homeowners, and with the way insurance is going lately, you want homeowners that can afford to put a roof on.
Yeah.
So we chase storms when it comes to media buys, and we put in frequency that if there's a storm, then something, and we have specific content for that. So when a storm comes through, we pop that thing up there and it runs, and then we run it on social media as well.
Are you doing broadcast, or are you doing
broadcast and social media?
Okay.
Yeah. But I've tried OTT. I don't trust OTT yet.
So I talked to a director of operations for a major law firm out on the East Coast, and he said they spent $1 million on OTT, and he didn't feel a thing. He said it was $1 million, and they got nothing out of it.
Well, the thing is, there's not enough inventory. There's just so much time in a day. Like $1 million, I think he would have the whole thing with $1 million. Like they can't promise you where it's going, they'll say they can.
They'll promise a
lot,
lot,
but that's not accurate.
I had this issue.
It goes where the inventory is open.
Right, and so and then most of the buyers are not dealing in Netflix, Hulu. Right, so everybody you talk to, they're like, oh, but there's so many other apps, and so I'm like, okay, but I kind of feel like everyone's watching Netflix or Hulu.
That's matter of fact, that's the only two that make money. That's the only two streaming services that actually make money.
Yeah,
everybody else loses money.
Look at Netflix stock. I mean, it's nuts, But I mean, so I talked to one person. She's like, "Well, we're getting a lot of traction with HGTV." I was like, "HGTV? My clients aren't watching HGTV." I was like, "Look, it's not an estate planning business, right? Like my parents watch HGTV." I was like, "Look, you want to target my parents? Put it on the Christmas channel, and just bombard them, and you've got them." But I was like, our clients are a little bit different, and they said, well, there's these other apps. I never even heard of this app.
Your clients are on YouTube.
Tubu or Tubi? Tubi?
Tubi.
I don't know what the hell Tubi is.
Tubi.
All right, well, I've never seen it. I don't know what it is. I don't even know if my TV has it. When I asked, what is the volume of subscribers in New Orleans, like what are we talking about? She's like, well, it's got 200 million subscribers worldwide. I was like, no, I don't give a shit about how many people in India are watching Tubi right now. I'm asking you, right? 200 million subscribers worldwide is nothing, by the way. There are 1 billion people in China.
Right.
Okay, so how many people in New Orleans are watching Tubi? And they're like, well, they don't really publish that. I was like, okay, well, if you can't tell me,
the question is, why don't they publish that?
Yeah, like if you can't tell me how many people it's in front of,
they can.
This conversation's not going to go anywhere. What is on? So what's on Tubi? Do I need to get it? Like, what's Tubi?
Girl with a Gun is on Tubi.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, now, all right.
But
for all you Tubi fans,
I think your demographic is on Tubi.
You do?
Because it's free.
Okay.
It's a free service. And Tubi has actually moved. Whenever Girl with a Gun got on Tubi, it was like the number 8 streamer in the world. It's now better than Disney. It's now above Disney. It's like in the top 5, I think.
So Disney Plus, like Disney and Netflix. and ESPN.
No,
right?
Hulu. So Disney bought ESPN and Hulu.
Oh, is that okay? I got it.
Disney Plus
okay.
is not making money.
Okay.
They bought Hulu because Hulu's making money, and Disney claims their Disney Plus is doing well, but it's not.
It's not. Well, that makes sense because Verizon, if you spend enough money with Verizon, you used to get it for free.
Right.
And then this last year, they were like,
can't give it away.
Listen, we're going to need you to pay for that. Now, I need Disney Plus. I got 2 kids. My kids live in Disney Plus. I mean, holy shit.
Right.
Can you imagine if I went home and told my kids we weren't going to have Disney
No more Disney.
anymore?
We're putting Tubi on.
Oh, man. That would be wild. My kids would
Yeah.
be so mad at me. They were singing a commercial the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? Actually, it's that commercial that I'm a big kid now. I was like, that's like a commercial for diapers, right? And my kids are like, what? Because they're at that age of like, you're not allowed, I was like, why are you singing a diaper commercial?
Yeah.
That's like for like, that's like for like big kids that like wet the bed. What are you doing? Why are you singing that? And they're like, we saw it in a commercial. And I was like, man, you guys aren't watching commercials.
Right.
I know because I'm here watching this. I would actually entertain a commercial at this point. I'm like, no commercial break, no sponsors. All right. Fine. Let's just keep with the drama. So, and they said no, but when we watch YouTube, that was a commercial on YouTube. And I said, well, my kids aren't, so we are a YouTube free family. My kids are not allowed to watch YouTube. We made that decision years ago.
They have a YouTube Kids?
No.
Okay.
We made that decision years ago. I'll tell you why in a second. But the takeaway here, as I was thinking to myself, holy shit, you saw that commercial probably 3 years ago, and my kids are still singing. They still, when they see a Take 5, my kids go nuts because Take 5 was apparently running commercials on YouTube. No, so we took away YouTube from the family. We have YouTube TV. That's a little different, right? So we're not allowed to watch YouTube or YouTube TV and our kids, and the reason is because we saw there's something about the way that the content gets delivered to the kids. I am not a scientist. Yeah. This is not a political thing. I'm not even that great of a parent, but we saw the way the content was getting delivered. And especially, this is 3 years ago, right? So 3 years ago, right, that would mean my kids are 6 and 4. They would watch TV for like 30 minutes. Right, so that would be like the average lifespan of a child's attention, right, or attention span, 30 minutes of TV, and then they're off and they're doing something, and then it's just me watching Peppa Pig, and they're gone, and I'm like a zombie.
Yeah,
but
we had a Peppa Pig
I love
phase.
Peppa Pig. Yeah, every now and then I'll be like, anybody want to watch Peppa Pig?
I mean,
they're like,
Bluey's
and they
the
laugh
thing.
at me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, fine.
Yeah.
I thought for you, not for me. Like Bluey too. So, but not with YouTube. With YouTube, my wife and I both noticed it was like, I mean, she'd be working, I'm doing something. Maybe it's a Saturday. Maybe she's working all day Saturday. I'm doing everything around the house. She's not listening. It's okay. She won't listen. And maybe they're watching for like 2 hours and they're completely glued to it. And then when we took it away, they like flipped out. So if you ever want me to, I was like, if you flip out on anything, it automatically goes away. Like no matter what it is.
Right.
Like I don't care, right? So if you have a response like I'm taking crack away from you, then I'm going to take it away from you.
Right, exactly.
If you're all like, whatever, I don't care, then I'll be like, I guess it's not that big of a deal after all.
Right.
So, they went nuts. And then we realized after, I was like, okay, so I feel really good about this decision. So we're a YouTube-free family. And that's, that's just how we are.
My son that can watch YouTube Kids, he doesn't watch that much YouTube. So I actually built my own server.
Did you?
At home, and I rip the content and I barely have any streaming services. So I rip it and put it on the server, and it streams throughout the house.
Oh, okay. That's
so
cool.
It's whatever's on the server, he gets to watch.
That's techie. Yeah, I don't have it. We have a server, but I don't know what's in it or how to use it or why it's there. I often look at it thinking, like, I have no use. I feel very confident knowing that we didn't need to buy this.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we could have just plugged into AT&T and operate just like the rest of the world. But for whatever reason, I got a server, or allegedly. I have a box with like a fan, right? All the nonsense that we don't need. So it's interesting to hear that. So you don't love OTT, you don't think it's there yet, but you do like Tubi.
The thing is, for an injury attorney, I do. For an injury attorney, I do. Look, as a business, I'm trying to stay relevant with AI coming in, and it is so much deeper than even. I'm a small company, but even big companies, and I'm not talking about Facebook. So now there's AI that tracks your mood. So depending on what you're putting on your social media, they can tell if you're sad. They will send you an ad because you're sad to you impulse buy something. It'll be a specific thing to being depressed.
Man.
That's how deep it's getting.
Yeah.
Like, so they know, the algorithm knows, oh, they're typing something sad and what something happened or happy, whatever. They're going to try to send you something. I forgot what the example was, but
yeah, we're like, hey, do you need antidepressants?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, boom, that's what you're going to get.
Like, I get a lot of these things where it's like, hey, Justin, you're kind of old, and we couldn't help but notice you don't have nearly the amount of hair you did in your early photos.
Right.
Maybe you want to take something for that.
But if you're talking next to your phone.
Half of my Facebook is telling me how bald I am.
But if you're talking next to your phone, it's going to pop up on your social media.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. They're lying to us. It's 100%. Absolutely listening 100%. To us. There's no
it's been listening to us for years.
And everyone knows it, but it's like a little too edgy of a conspiracy to like really like wrap your head around, like, well, surely they wouldn't do that. We all know they are.
It's not a conspiracy anymore. It is absolutely
They
happening.
say that they're not. They totally are. We've all got our own experiences where, like, my wife and I are talking about, like, maybe we should buy a Barbie house or something. And then all of a sudden it's up, all over your social media. It's creepy. I just wish that they would do a better job of it, because I don't even know what I want. I'm like, you sell me some stuff. I love it. I love a good Facebook e-commerce. I will buy anything. But I'm constantly having to return things that don't fit or like don't work. And, it is a little creepy. Well, so, all right, well, maybe we'll, I don't know. We're not on OTT. We have this discussion a lot.
None of my clients are on OTT.
We should be or we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
We've toyed with maybe just doing it just on Hulu, or something like, having like a smaller kind of campaign. I do think if you have a super niche customer that you can drill down. So like roofing is a little easier, right? Because you can always find a homeowner. You can do your homework to get the audience. Personal injury, I think, is a little harder. Or like people are like motorcycle accidents. Like if you're a motorcycle guy, those guys are easy, right? Because they are. Every motorcycle guy loves motorcycles. It's like there's pictures of them on Facebook with their motorcycle and their vests and their crests and stuff like that. So you guys are easy to find. So I don't, old people, right? It's even a estate planning business. Old people are easy to find. I don't know.
Weddings are easy, like wedding venues. Right. I had one of those for a while. And
your average PI guy, like it could be anybody. I've had clients that live on St. Charles Avenue, and I've got clients that are homeless, and everybody else in between. So anybody can have a personal injury and want to, sue somebody for it or something like that. Want to see compensation, or when we do hurricanes, right? We've got little houses, out on the coast, and we've had clay, roof, on St. Charles, right? Yeah. So on everything else, like I said, in between. So it's I think it's harder to pinpoint when everyone says, who's your average client? I always say, oh, it's anybody, really. And I still can't answer that question,
Yeah.
So, well, I got this thing. So that means...
That was a half an hour?
That means
wow,
I talked too long. I do want to hear. So I'm super interested in this OTT. Love to know your thoughts on it. We'll continue to explore this, but I feel like we're almost there. I feel like in 2 years, everyone's like, it's the wave of the future. And I'm like, I believe you that it is the wave of the future. But I'm reminded the QR code. The QR code was around for years before COVID, decades maybe. And remember, you used to have to download the app just to use the QR code.
Still do,
right?
Yeah.
And now it was only because of COVID that somebody was like, hey, we should just do a QR code, and then it just became commonplace.
Right.
So I think a lot of these things, just because they're the wave of the future, doesn't mean that they're where we are right now. So
they have a lot to figure out, and OTT has got an inventory problem. And I don't think that they have all of the technology in place to be able to separate. I've seen too many of my commercials back to back to back,
really?
Right? And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And that aggravates people. And I think I've got a client who's got 1 star because of it, right? Oh, I came on 3 times in a row. There's 1 star. So, it's fighting Google is one thing. I think Google has a lot of. I don't trust Google that much, honestly. I think that everything goes out to the highest bidder, and anybody who's
you can become the highest bidder very easily, right? That's the thing. If you have the money, and a lot of times with Google, It's not, some of these guys over there,
Mm-hmm.
it's not even like they're trying to outbid you. They're trying to choke you.
Right.
And they're,
That's exactly what they're doing.
And
but some injury attorneys, they're on a billboard if there's nothing else on it. Their contract is
every empty board.
Every empty board.
Every remnant, right?
Yeah.
It's not all about like, oh, I'm building my own company and I'm, come find me. It's actually about choking out any possible competition, and I'll spend millions and millions and millions so that nobody ever finds out about you. And that's kind of fucked up.
It is. It's really jacked up. It is really jacked up. But there are people doing that, and
they're all my competitors.
My niche.
I'm not doing it. If I had,
my niche is creative, funny. So I said 3 things. Another 3 things is if they laugh, scream, or cry. That's the only audible way you got to them.
That's it. That's
kind of how I do things.
All right, cool. Yeah. Well, hey, I love hearing about it. By the way, we didn't really get to talk about it.
Yeah.
But you are the creative behind, the producer, the writer behind Girl with the Gun.
Yeah.
And so, we were talking about, I didn't get to see it, but that was a major production. It's been.
No, it wasn't. It was small.
Really?
I'll come back
because
that
was in New Orleans.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
everyone
It was
talking about
small, but it's worth talking about. Like shifting gears. Maybe I'll come back and do another one. Shifting gears about the whole industry in movie industry in Louisiana, because I have a lot to say about that.
Because I remember when it came. It came out, but I didn't. Okay. So all right. Well, we'll do it next time. I'm gonna hold you to that.
All right.
Because this was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Thank you,
Kevin White. And tell them where. So if you're a business owner, where can they find you?
Mach 10 Media, mach10media.com, MACH10media.com.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks
I appreciate
for
it.
having me, man.
Thank you for joining me today on Above the Legal Limit. If you enjoyed the show and you want to hear more about business and law, hit that subscribe button. If you didn't like the show, keep it to yourself. Remember, there's no limit to what we can achieve. We will see you next week. Until then, even though we're above the legal limit, let's drive safely. Cheers, everyone.